I'm Mark Butler, a community leader for over 10 plus years, the founder of a nonprofit organization, real estate developer, business owner, husband to a beautiful wife, proud father of 5 beautiful daughters. That's who I am. Up until the day of September the 11th, 2001, I was one of the highest grossing, youngest computer marketing specialists in the country. And then once September 11, 2001, as everybody know, that national tragedy, as a result, I was one of the first 3,500 people to be let go and laid off of my job with nothing but 3 months severance pay. Didn't really have a plan financially. I was very distraught mentally and emotionally, and I could not express myself to anyone about how I was breaking down. But my life around me was crashing because I did not have answers. I just didn't. Later, as a result, in less than a year's time, I ended up going to prison to serve 15 years of my life in prison, which I served 10 years on it. And when I just was completely mentally, spiritually, and emotionally distraught, I didn't know who I was. If I didn't have the job, if I didn't have the wife and the career and the nice cars and the clothes, I didn't know how to define me, right? I lived behind all of that, and I allowed those accolades to define who I was on the inside as well. So once all of that became crashing around the nation, I was one of the people who became lost because of it. I didn't have a starting place. While I was in prison, and I did not know who I was at the time, I was raised up as a religious person. My mother made sure that we went to church 3 days out of a week, but I did not have a relationship with God. I didn't know myself or anything about myself spiritually other than quoting Bible scriptures and the like. That's all that I knew, go to church every Sunday, get dressed up, different things of that sort. But I myself did not have a relationship. I wanted one because I had tried everything else in my life and I was coming up empty handed, right? And so me turning to God, and at the time I only had one scripture that I could quote, right? But little did I know that that's all I needed to get started was to quote that one scripture. And that one scripture led to another as I began to completely understand. I think it was about the faith of me taking that one scripture and hoping and believing that this one scripture would open some doors in my mind and in my life for me, right? And I think me being incarcerated allowed me to exclude all external thoughts, really detach myself from the cares of the world. I think that really helped to contribute to my relationship now that I was building with God spiritually. I still remember while I was there, I wanted to do more than just save my own life. I began to find like a purpose. And I read this book by Brian Tracy. It was only one book, not even thick. It was a small book and it was called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. And while I was reading this book, it was teaching some things to me, simplifying things for me about how I got to the point to where I was a top salesman in the country to now being incarcerated for something that I never would have done under duress. The book was stating that although the mind has the ability to hold and entertain millions of ideas, thousands of ideas during a day, it can only focus on one thing. And it told me that we had the ability and the power to change that thought if we were not satisfied with it. And it began to break it down from a spiritual perspective, mentally, how it affected us emotionally, and then physically. And when I began to learn this process of how the spirit controls the mental, and the mental activates the emotional, and the emotional is responded through our physical being, it was like that for me. That's all I needed to know was how to control me and the way that I think and the things that I do and everything of that sort. So the first thing I began to do was learn how to control me. And then secondly, I came across another book called The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And that book changed my life. Now I understand that everything is energy. Everything is mental. How you look at everything actually defines your world as you can create it here on this earth. I realize that not everyone is in control of their mind. We acknowledge the mind, but we don't control our mind. We respond and we react to external influences rather than controlling everything from the inside. And then I realized this wasn't just a Mar Butler thing. This was a universal thing. As the majority of the people do not know that we have the power and the ability to control our own world and destiny, all from the power of one thought. This channel is for people in this world who don't really understand what their true purpose is in this life. Inside of your purpose is your own individual level of greatness. Everyone who can listen to this video has a purpose, but not everyone has found it. And most importantly, not everyone understands it. This is strictly for people who really want to find their own level of greatness because it is there. You just need to find the path. And hopefully, following the laws, which are irrefutable and cannot fail, you'll be able to do so. Peace.